So is it a movement or a way of life? Well, after weeks of uncertainty, debate, and intense emotion, Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh is all but confirmed to be the next Supreme Court justice. The big vote tomorrow, but just moments ago, GOP Senator Susan Collins said, while the Me Too movement matters and she supports survivors, she sees no evidence that the allegations against Kavanaugh are strong enough to keep him from the Supreme Court.
Mr. President, I will vote to confirm Judge Kavanaugh. Thank you, Mr.
Listen to the people here. Are you concerned about?
Very much concerned, basically, with the sexual abuse that people have had to endure, and very much concerned that we have to do something as a country. But I had to deal with the facts I had in front of me.
Do you believe the allegation?
And within minutes after that, Democratic Senator Joe Manchin said he will also vote yes for Kavanaugh. You heard protesters shouting outside of his office, yelling shame over and over again. Republican Jeff Flake said he too will vote yes tomorrow, but GOP Senator Lisa Murkowski voted no on the procedural vote, which typically mirrors how a senator will ultimately vote in the final decision, which will be tomorrow. All day today, there have been protests happening in Washington, inside the Senate building, in the hallways, outside offices. No matter what the outcome, it is clear this nomination will continue to be debated and discussed, especially around the issue of sexual assault. Joining me now is former federal prosecutor Allison Leotta. So, Allison, what are your thoughts when you hear Senator Susan Collins say, yes, I believe Dr. Ford, but there just wasn't enough evidence?
I think that Senator Collins and the entire Senate right now is sending a message that they do not care about sexual assault. They don't care about sex assault survivors. I think it is a sad day for the American justice system and for women around the country. But I do want to say this. If you have been accused, if you have been sexually assaulted, come forward. Don't let this spectacle deter you. If you come forward, there are prosecutors' offices and police stations around the country. We are trained to do intake. You will not have intake done by President Trump or Senator Grassley. You'll have someone like me who's trained in listening to stories and hearing, treating you with dignity, and getting your story out there, bringing justice to the victims. So
I know that you hear he said, she said a lot.
Yes.
And you said that that is a myth that comes from 500 years ago that is based on the belief that women shouldn't be believed.
That's right. So starting 500 years ago in medieval English law, there was a rule that sex victims couldn't come forward and testify just based on their own testimony. They had to be corroborated in every single element, unlike, say, the victim of a mugging or a robbery. And what that did is it basically stopped every rape prosecution almost from being brought. Now that has changed, but there's still this concept of the he said, she said, which you only hear in sex offense cases. You never hear about a he said, she said mugging. The fact is, in the justice system, we can use our reasoning and our common sense to figure out what happened. And I think in this case, the real shame of it is that there's so much more evidence to be heard. There were two other victims who we never even heard from. If I had done that in a courtroom as a sex crimes prosecutor, that would have been considered malpractice. So the fact that the Senate didn't even hear from two other women making credible claims just seems absolutely outrageous to me.
And I was reading your article, and I found it so important to mention this. We talk about girls who go to college, 1 in 5 will experience sexual assault. And there is a difference between reporting it to the campus police opposed to the regular police, the city state police.
That's right. They're two totally different systems. 1 in 5 will be sexually assaulted before they leave campus. I think the key is to know that there is only a very small number of boys committing these sexual assaults. I think there isn't like a big male conspiracy.
Right.
Most guys are really nice and will
then
step
if they
in.
do it once, you said they probably have done it before.
The boys
or
who've
will
done
do
it once
again.
have probably done it before, and they will probably do it again. And that's another reason to come forward, so that you can stop this person from doing it again, and also to get it on the record, just in case 25 years down the line he's nominated for the Supreme Court.
And finally, Allison, do you think that Dr. Ford's testimony will give courage to people who have been sexually assaulted to come forward? Because as you know, a lot of times they don't.
She was so brave. I was so incredibly impressed with her, and I think it is making people come forward. I've heard from more people in the last week talking about their stories. I think she has inspired a generation of women to come forward and talk about this crime that has traditionally lived in the shadows.
On the cover of Time magazine, as she should be, in a powerful image, she has changed just the way we discuss sexual assault, I believe. Allison, thank you.
Thank you, Susan.